All right, let's take the first one. Which statement is true? Material processes do not require a conscious being as the doer. Being, becoming, and having are relational processes. Mental processes require a conscious being as the sensor. So, can I ask, what was the correct answer? A, B, C, D, or E? What's the correct answer? Anybody brave enough to say? What did you say? Louder. All of the above. And you're right. Which of the following sentences contains a material doing process? We ate breakfast together. Mary cooked our dinner. Last night we watched a movie. Trump was elected president. What's the correct answer? Louder, you guys, good grief, I don't think I'm deaf, but I can't hear a thing. What's the correct answer? E, all of the above. You're right, okay? Now, why is watch? Watch seems to be something to do with seeing, right? But it's different. It is actually doing the process, watching. It's not the sensing, all right? Which of the following sentences contains a relational process? We are planning to go tomorrow. He has finished the process, finished the movie. I think John may be the right person for the job. The book was written by J.R.R. Tolkien. What's the correct answer? Shout it out. What's the correct answer? C. You're quite right. What's wrong with the A? Why not A? Because those are the auxiliary verbs, right? They aren't the main verb. We're talking about the main verb. So these are, he has finished, again, expresses perfect tense, all right? The book was written, that would be passive and so forth. Which of the following illustrates projection? Tom said, I'm sorry. Tom worries all the time. Tom was very sorry. Which is the correct answer? A? Yes. That's the only one. The rest are not. They may be expressing worry as a sensing process, and so where they're not projecting, no. And the following process types require a conscious being as the initiator. Does material? No. Relational? No. Verbal? No. So none of the above. This one, which of the following sentences contains a mental process? I already heard that joke. He parked the car on the street. Did you see the movie? What's the correct answer? On this side, anybody? What's the correct answer? This one's fairly easy. A mental process. Which one is a mental process? Anybody? Hey, can you say it out?
E.
C.
E.
D. Both A and B. Is it? He parked the car on the street. What's a mental process? Did you say A and C?
Yeah.
Okay, A and C. D. I'm sorry, didn't hear you properly. Which of the following sentences contains a material process of doing? I think John left early. Please return the book to the library. It's so dark, I couldn't see a thing. Which of the following contains a material process of doing? What's the correct answer? Come on, guys, you can make this a little bit more interactive, all right? Just by using your voice. I know you have voices, all right? So just Use those voices. How about on this side? What's the correct answer? Huh? A, B, C, D, E, E. Please return the book to the library. Yes, that's return to the book. It's so dark I couldn't see a thing though. But what about A? John left early. Both A and B. The following process types do or does not require a conscious being as the initiator. Careful of those not questions, all right? Do not require a conscious being. What's the correct answer? Which do not? Count it out. Yes. Am I deaf? If you all hear that, you all hear that quite fine. Oh, I need a hearing aid, I think. What is it? E. When I heard that, okay. Thank you. Which of the following sentences do or does not contain a process of doing? Not contain a process of doing. I sense your frustration. Usually drinks coffee. And did you lock the door? So which of the following does not contain a process of doing? A, I sense your frustration. Which of the following does not contain a process of doing? He usually drinks coffee, does contain a process of doing. Did you lock the door? Does contain a process of doing. So A, right? That's the only one. I sense your frustration. Which of the following sentences contains a mental process? A, I listened carefully to what he told me. I watched the sunset. It's so noisy I couldn't hear a thing. Which is the correct answer? C, yes, okay. It's so noisy I couldn't hear a thing. And which of the following illustrates parataxis? Study harder if you want to succeed. Please do the laundry and take out the garbage. And Tom sold his flat and made a fortune. What's the correct answer? Over here, correct answer is, what are we looking for? Parataxis, right? Which of these is parataxis? B. Please do the laundry and take out the garbage. That's all. C. Tom sold his flat and made a fortune. So what's the correct answer? B and C. A obviously is hypotaxis if, but in both of the others, you have two clauses joined by and, very clearly paratactic. Which of the following sentences illustrates hypotactic enhancement? Enhancement, all right? Though he was busy, he still found time to help kids with their homework. When the exam is over, you can leave. He did his homework while watching television. We have three that are obviously hypotactic. Are they enhancement? Correct answer is D, all of the above. Okay, the first one though is concession. When is time. He did his homework while, again, related to time. What is enhancement? Enhancement is related to like circumstances. When, where, why, how. Which of the following illustrates linear thematic progression? Remember what linear thematic progression is, right? What is it? What is the new information? The focus becomes the old information, becomes the theme. In Singapore, I always stay at the same hotel. It is near a metro station. Is that linear thematic progression? Is it? What's the In Singapore, it, what's the it? The hotel. All right. That's linear thematic progression. Paris is beautiful this time of year. There is no progression, all right? In Rome, you have to be careful about your belongings. Again, it's a single clause. The only correct answer is A. Which of the following sentences contains a textual theme? Please don't run in the house or you might break something. Last night, I went to bed early because I was tired. The text for your reading assignment has been uploaded to Canvas. What's the correct answer? What's the correct answer? I'm neglecting this side of the room, okay? So what's the correct answer? Which of the following contains a textual theme? What would you say is the correct answer? None of the above? Well, I wouldn't say that, because please don't run in the house or, well, that's the textual theme of the second clause. And last night I went to bed early because I was tired. That's textual as well. So both A and B. Which of the following are among the defining criteria for a text? What must a text have? Cohesiveness, long enough, coherence. What's the correct answer? E, both A and C. Nothing to do with length. All right. And which of the following contains an interpersonal theme? Certainly, I prefer you were there. I prefer you were there. Slowly, he poured the tea. But Mary, I do love your cooking. Well, one of them is what I've given to you as an example before, Mary, right? Well, what about the rest? Certainly expresses attitude, expresses certainty. So yes, interpersonal, it's attitude. Slowly, that's manner, all right? Nothing to do with interpersonal. A and C. In an English language clause, old and given information typically occurs where? Old information. Where does it typically occur? As theme at the end of a clause? Yes or no? No. Focus at the end of a clause? No. Theme at the beginning of a clause? Yes. And which of the following contains a textual theme? Do you feel okay, or do you need a rest? On the shelf, you will find the book, Is Linguistics Fun? And the correct answer is, and everyone said it, A, right? You have again that or. Which statement about material processes with more than one participant is true? Can you ask, what did X do? Yes, you can. Can you ask, what did X do to Y? Yes. Can the initiator be non-human? Yes. All of the above. Which of the following illustrates linear thematic progression? I saw the debate, but I still don't know who I should vote for. The parade came down the street and then suddenly stopped. The restaurant just opened after renovation and it has a new menu. Which of these is linear? Any of them? What about this one? I saw the debate. I, continuous, right? You keep repeating the subject as theme. The parade, it's nothing is mentioned here. It would be assumed it's the parade. And the restaurant just opened after renovation, and it refers to the restaurant. They're all continuous thematic progression. Whew, that was hard work. Okay? Did you learn anything from that? I hope. You will have a quiz, remember, that will be the real thing. And this will be, some of the questions will be like this. So please be prepared. Pretty much you seem to have the idea and understand it. I'm glad to see that. All right, come back to this question. What is a metaphor? This is going to be related to what we will be talking about today. You remember Russell Mears. I mentioned him, this emeritus professor of psychiatry at the University of Sydney. He wrote this book, really good book. I really enjoyed it. The Poet's Voice in the Making of Mind. He says this: metaphor's most important function is to picture that which cannot be seen, and so to say what otherwise cannot be said. Metaphor. To picture that which one cannot see. To say what otherwise cannot be said. You can paint a picture with words. We talked about lexical metaphor. Let's look at some examples of metaphor.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with the source on that one. Metaphor. It's people that can take metaphors are going to
Comunidades around the biggest areas in the house.
you taste it out of your face? It's not a porn. What? It is the name what strikes fear into the hearts of everyone that hears it. Okay, whatever you say.
Okay, metaphor. It's in the movies. Again, Russell Mears says this: it makes possible the representation of states of feeling and imagination, substances given to an otherwise amorphous and fleeting reality. This kind of reality is at the heart of those relationships that are unique to the human primate and are central to the creation of culture. When we talk, when we use language, what we are actually doing is projecting a metaphoric cinematic screen on which is portrayed a partially glimpsed personal reality. What is grammatical metaphor? What we're saying is that you have in language basically a sort of congruent, straightforward relationship. Literal. Things are nouns, Relators are conjunctions and processes are verbs. These are semantic notions. These are grammatical notions. And we have sort of a relation of congruence. This is what we expect. This is the automatic. This is the default. Things are nouns, qualities are adjectives, processes are verbs, and so on. But when we have a metaphor, what we do is we take that automatic, we take that default, and we change it. We have a kind of de-automatization. What was the automatic is now something that we have changed. And we call that grammatical metaphor. And we saw an example of that in Donald Junk's speech. Instead of it reminds us, it is a reminder. We take the verb remind and turn it into a noun. It becomes a thing. It takes on that nounness, that property. We call this grammatical metaphor. So we've seen lexical metaphors, grammatical metaphors, and when we look at metaphor, in terms of a grammatical metaphor, it's an innovation in language at the level of structure. Traditional metaphors are at the level of words. Grammatical metaphor is a kind of de-automatization. Learn that word. Grammatical metaphor is a kind of de-automatization. What does it mean? You have the automatic. What's the automatic? Well, that's what we just looked at. The congruent. Processes are verbs. Things are nouns. That's the automatic. That's the default. Then it comes to the text itself. Ruqayya Hassan describes a literary artifact as an extended metaphor. An extended metaphor is also a kind of de-automatization. Metaphorical meaning is created through a patterning, creating the background, the automatic. This is what the writer does. This is what the poet does. Creates a background, creates an automatic in the text, which is a patterning, a grammatical patterning that is repeated. And then repatterns against that background to foreground, to bring it to the front, to attract your attention, to get across the message. Metaphorical meaning is created through a patterning, creating the background, the automatic. Professor David Butt said this: mobilizing the habitual patterns of grammatical choice into a non-habitual consistency. Taking the way we typically use language, taking the grammatical patterns that are common, but in that text, turning them into a non-habitual consistency, turning them into a new automatic. And out of that patterning, out of that background, against that, foregrounds. We saw something of that when we looked at the movie Murder on the Orient Express. That repetition of there was and there, well, I shouldn't change it. There are, there is. This use of the existential there. But you'll notice here, there was right, there was wrong. Change the tense. No longer present tense to past tense. That gets your attention.
That was right.
There was right, there was wrong, now there is you. And then a new pattern. You is repeated in theme. It gets your attention. Against that background of the existential, against that very sort of thought out, rational way of talking, comes this emphasis on the interpersonal. You, because he says, I cannot judge this. The ideational, the rational shifts to the irrational. And how is it? It is expressed through the use of a pattern that is repeated and then breaking that pattern. I'm going to talk today about two examples. One is the spoken word performance of the recent winner of America's Got Talent. His name is Brandon Lee. The other is a commencement speech by David Foster Wallace. It's at the top of Time Magazine's top 10 commencement speeches. This is important. Both texts challenge typical cultural norms and expectations. And yet, they've gone on to win popular acclaim, praise. They break the mold. Outstanding works of verbal art. We're going to take a look at these. And the word that I want you to learn today is de-automatization. And what does that mean? It means the metaphorical. The metaphorical is when you break against the automatic. Well, let's take a look. This is America's Got Talent, and this was one of the winners of America's Got Talent. This was his first audition. How did the judges respond when they heard the contestant would give a spoken word performance? Who's going to give a poem? Never happened before on America's Got Talent. Well, how did the judges respond?
So poetry, is that what you're going to be doing tonight?
Yes, I'm actually the first spoken word artist that you guys are ever going to have hit this stage. So I'm super excited to bring poetry to y'all.
Tell me, because I don't really understand poetry. I'm going to be honest with you.
I'm a great intro for you. I bring more about life experience, things that everyday people go through.
And where could this lead to if you do well on the show, Brandon?
Well, I have like a huge aspiration of being able to put on my own large production one-man show.
Okay, so tonight's poem, is it something you wrote?
Oh, I only perform stuff that I write, never be able to perform anything else.
What is it? What is this one about?
So tonight's poem is actually an ode to my sister.
Are you close to your sister?
Very much. She's here with me now.
Oh, she's backstage?
Kind of.
Well, we already love you. Make us love your poem.
Beautiful. I got you for that.
Hey, there's almost a little bit of skepticism, right? It's poetry. Who likes poetry? All right. How did the judges respond after hearing the spoken word performance?
Memories are what they go.
Very good.
My brother passed away the same year that your sister passed away. And yeah, I can feel your pain. I know what this is. I know what it is to have somebody taken from you without you knowing. But it was very beautiful for me.
Thank you.
What an amazing tribute. There's something very, very special about you.
Thank you.
Really. This is a very difficult thing for me to judge. I shouldn't be judging it. I just want to compliment you on what you just did because it was extraordinary.
Thank you so much.
Very fun. Well, it's amazing to me that on season 15, it's the first time that we're hearing somebody of spoken word. There was something more raw in the way it's like singing and talking and just being a human a cappella. No music, no nothing, just a raw heart beating in front of us. We feel your pain, we feel your love, you move me. Yes.
That was the golden buzzer, all right? Meaning that he would go on then to the live shows. This was his first audition. What is there about this spoken word performance that made these judges feel so moved? That's what we want to discover. And what I'm suggesting is that by looking at the way it was constructed, through the means that we have been talking about, kind of analysis that we've been doing, we're going to have some way to be able to know why people respond the way they do. All right? This is the architecture. I know we haven't talked in detail about rhetorical structure theory, but I've been mentioning it. And it's something that we'll be talking about in the next lectures. This maps out the whole performance. Now, included, I asked you, in fact sent it and asked you to print it, but in fact today it's on the back of your quiz paper. This is the actual poem. We're going to take a look at it. You'll notice I haven't put it in terms of the clauses here. That's what I want to work with you on first thing, all right? How do you do the clause analysis? Before you get to doing transitivity and theme and all those, you still need to be able to break it up into clauses. Well, that's something that I want to go through with you today as well. You'll notice that there is a lot. What does this suggest to you? Very parasitic. Very parasitic. The first 4 sentences really sets the stage for what is to follow. All right, let's take a look. And I'd like you to go through it as I go through it with you. And let's analyze this in terms of its clause structure. First thing, we're going to go through it in parts and segments. You will listen to what the poem is, but in these parts, all right? So the first 4 is really a way to, as I pointed out, this beginning block sort of sets the stage for everything that follows. I have 2 facts for you, simple clause. 1, I'm 6 feet tall. Again, simple clause. And 2, love is the most vulnerable thing which one will ever have. Now the WH word isn't there, but it's understood, all right? That's what is a relative clause. He just hasn't mentioned it. And what it is describing is the most vulnerable thing. It defines what it is, this most vulnerable thing. So I put it in the square brackets, you'll notice. And that means that it is rank shifted. It's not performing at clause level, it's embedded. It's embedded in what was preceding it, the most vulnerable thing. It's a noun phrase. And this is part of that noun phrase that is being described here. The clause is embedded. What we say is it is rank shifted. What does that mean? What does that mean? You have different ranks. Morpheme, word, clause complex, sentence, like that. All right. Now, at the level of clause, this is a clause, which one will ever have. It has a verb, it's a clause, but it isn't functioning at clause level. It's functioning as part of a noun phrase, the post-modification of that noun. So I use square brackets to indicate that kind of embedding. And you must learn to hold on to it loosely, so when it leaves, it won't exit so painfully. And you must learn to hold on to it loosely, so when it leaves, it won't exit so painfully. How do you identify a clause? A verb. There has to be a verb. It doesn't have to be a finite verb. It can be a non-finite verb. So we have learn, to hold on, leaves, exit. When you see the verb, you know it's the clause.
I have 2 facts for you. 1, I'm 6 feet tall. And two, love is the most vulnerable thing one will ever have. And you must learn to hold on to it loosely. So when it leaves, it won't exit so painfully.
Okay, so we have the parataxis here, and 2 through 4 are obviously, I have 2 facts for you. Okay, so that will be elaborated in what follows. What are the 2 facts? All right, and so that will break down between 2 and 3 and 4, and 3 and 4 also, and, so we have that parataxis. Simple clauses. Repeated use of and. We have the rhyming pair, loosely, painfully. Okay, we're beginning to get the idea. Now, in terms of the analysis, all right. Here we're looking at the transitivity analysis. What are the verbs? Have, am, is, have. They're all relational processes. Must learn, mental process. To hold on, leaves, won't exit. I, in the ER role, I have 2 facts. I am 6 feet tall. Love is the most vulnerable thing one will have. You must learn. What is 4B? To hold on to it loosely. 4B, to hold on, is the process. It, this is the affected. Loosely. It leaves, won't exit so painfully. It in the ER role. All right, so that will be our analysis of the transitivity. Theme. Theme is quite easy. I, one. One is sort of, I'd say, a textual theme. I'm the topical theme. And 2, textual. 2 is not, it's indicating the number, all right? 1, 2, so it serves a more textual function. It isn't the number 2. There are 2 things. It is the first, second. So when it, so we see the structure so far. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll continue to go through the analysis.